Hello, welcome back. This is Lecture 3, Spreadsheet Application, CST 1040, South College. In our last exercise, our last lecture, we did a lot of different formulas, and we also did some absolute cell referencing by locking the formula down. And we're going to repeat that, sort of review that here, and do some more advanced formulas. We're also going to talk a little bit about order of operations, and doing math in a different sequence. In reference to multiplying, adding, and subtracting, and things like that. Now, this worksheet is a library expansion project, cost estimates. It's basically different scenarios on our estimated costs, and different scenarios on if we go under budget or over budget. Notice this side's my green side, and this side over here is my red side. That means we're going over budget. And the foreman says he wants different scenarios for our expenditures, like 20% under, 10% under, 15% under. What happens if we go over budget by 10% or 15% or 20%? So we'll have these little different scenarios here. Now this formula is going to be a little bit more complicated. It is going to use absolute cell referencing, and it's also going to use some order of operations. Now remember, in the other lecture we talked about order of operations, that please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which Excel follows. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Okay? So if I do a little thing here, let's see, I'll go up here and I'll do equals 2 times 6 plus 3, I should get 15 because multiplication is done first, and I get 15. However, sometimes you want to have the addition happen first, and if I want to do that, I put the addition inside parentheses because that's the please, and please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, so that gets evaluated first, and I should get, let's see here, 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18 in there, okay? So it's a little bit more about order of operations, and let's do a practical aspect of that so we really get the hang of it. Now, our estimated cost for lumber is $37,500. I don't know, we're adding on 1,000 square foot children's wing to the library, and based on previous projects of similar size and time, we've come up with these estimated costs for our lumber, concrete, drywall, paint, fixtures and carpet, and labor. Let's calculate our estimated cost here if we were to come in 20% under budget for lumber. Now, basically what we have to do here is take that 37,000 and only have 80% of that. I got the 80% from what? The 100% minus 20% is 80%. 100% would be 37,500. Then take away 20%, and that would give us the amount of the cost, 20% under budget. So let's go ahead and do that. In plain English, we have to multiply our estimated cost by 80%. Okay, 37,500 times 80%, and that would give us our budgeted amount if we came in 20% under budget. Well, how do we get that 80%? Well, we can take 100% minus 20%. Okay. So basically, we take the estimated cost multiplied by 100% minus 20%. 100% minus 20% equals 80%. So here's how we do it. It's a little bit of a sticky formula, kind of hard to understand, but I think once we do a couple of them here, we'll have a pretty good handle on it. Let's do equals, and my 37,500 is in B9, so equals B9 times, and then the 100% minus 20%. I can just do 1 minus 20%. Now my 20% is in cell what? C as in Charlie 7. So I want to open up my parentheses here, and I'll do 1 minus C7. Okay? Now we're not quite done yet. I'm going to want to copy this formula down. Remember in the last lecture we talked about absolute cell referencing. When I copy it down, the B9 is going to go to B10, B11, B12, and so on for drywall, paint, fixtures. The 20% is also going to move down. Well, I want to lock down my C7, so I'm going to hit my F4 key right here to lock it down. Then I'll close my parentheses. Now, before I hit enter, let's sort of analyze this formula. The first thing that's going to happen is the 1 is going to subtract 20%. 1 always equals 100%. 1 is 100%, if 2 is 200%, 4 is 400%. So 1 is 100% minus 20% is 80%, then take the value in B9 and multiply that by the 80%. So I'll hit enter here, and I should get considerably less than $37,500. I get exactly $30,000. and that is my result of 37,000 and then taking away 20%. I'll copy it down, and there's all my budgeted amounts. All my budgeted amounts for 20% under budget. So if we come in 20% under budget on fixtures, we've budgeted 7,500, but we got a discount. We only have to pay 6,000. Okay. Let me format my numbers here. I'll fix this one. I'll format these two to $sign. Go to my Home tab, and we'll sort of format as we go along here. Get rid of my decimals, and highlight these numbers, make them comma, and get rid of my decimals. Okay, and my numbers look good for my 20% under budget. Now the good news is the 15% under budget, it's pretty much the exact same formula, except I'm referring to a different cell, right? I'm referring to cell D7, which is my 15%. So I'll do equals my estimated cost of B9 times parentheses, move the mouse out of the way here, 1 minus 15%, D7, and I'll hit my F4 key, and the F4 locks it down, parenthesis, close parentheses, and then I'll hit enter. I should have a little bit more than 30,000 now. Let's see what I've got. Yeah, $31,875. I'll copy it down, and boom. There's my 15% under budget. So if we come in 15% under budget on concrete, we're budgeted $21,500. We're only going to spend $18,275. Now let's do our last one here, which is our 10% under budget. Again, the exact same formula. I'm just using E7 now instead. So I'll do equals my B9, my estimated, everything's based on estimated cost, okay? Everything's based on estimated cost. So equals B9 times parentheses 1 minus E7, and I'll F4 it to lock it down, and close parentheses. And there's a real cool formula, okay, on calculating my 10% under budget, similar to these two. Just I changed the percent cell obviously because I want a different scenario here. So 10%, hit enter. $33,750. I'll copy it down. Our numbers don't look real nice. We'll format it at the end when we get the whole thing done. Okay, so there's all of our scenarios for being under budget. Now, we also have our over budget here. So we're sort of moving into a little bit different area. This is what happens if we go over budget. Now, the good news is the formula is extremely similar to this one, but let me double click this one. Instead of minusing now, we're going to add the 10% to it because we're going over budget. We're spending more money than we should. So it'll be higher than 37,500. Little scenario here, like if we anticipated $37,500 worth of lumber, and then some of that lumber gets wet because of a rainstorm, and we have to replace it. We may go 10% over budget and have to buy more lumber. So let's do our formula here. It'll be equals this cell again. It's always referring to the estimated cost times parentheses 1 plus the 10%, which is F7. I'll click on that and I'll F4 it again. Okay, we're adding 10%. So you're really multiplying B9 times 110%. See how that works? 100% plus 10% is 110%. And I'll close my parentheses here and hit enter. And I'll copy it down. Notice I'm a few thousand higher now, right? 37.5 is my budget. Some of the lumber got wet. Now we have to spend $41,250. I'll double click my fill handle to copy it down. And there's my different scenarios now for concrete, drywall, so on. Over here, exact same formula. I just use G7 now where the 15% is. Equals B9 times parentheses 1 plus the 15%. And then I'll F4 it because I want to lock it down. Close parentheses and hit enter. 43,000. So if we go 15% over budget, we're going to spend a little over almost $6,000 more on the project, for lumber anyway. And I'll copy it down. And there is my 15% over budgets. Then our last one, I'll go through it kind of quickly here. Equals B9 times parentheses 1 plus H7, 20%. F4 it. Always make sure you F4 it. Remember, the good news is if you forget to F4 it and you copy it, you're going to get all kinds of crazy answers, and you'll know that you probably should have absoluted something. Close parentheses, hit enter. 45,000, and I'll copy it down and voila, there we go. There's all of our different scenarios for being under budget and over budget based on estimated cost. Okay, some real quick totals here, total expenditures. I'll just highlight all the way across. And how am I going to total up all these cells right here real quick? No formula, I'm not going to type in anything. What can I click to get all my totals here? Okay, if you said auto sum, you're 100% right. Go up here, click my auto sum button, and I get all my totals. I'll go in here and format my numbers now. Let's see. I'll highlight. Actually, just these need to be formatted. Make these dollar signs with no decimals. There we go. Decrease decimal right up here. Then all these numbers will be comma style with no decimals. Get rid of my decimals. And my numbers look good. And there are my different scenarios. So the foreman calls and says, hey, we came in 10% under budget on the project. What was the total cost? $130,500. How about if we're 15% over budget on the whole project? $166,750. So now we have all these different scenarios for our project. Here's the expected amount, $145,000. That's our base there. That's our estimated cost, based on the last 5 projects that we've done that were similar in size, was $145,000. Then we have some different scenarios if we come in under or over budget. Now in the real world, this worksheet would be a little bit on the cookie cutter side. Notice all the scenarios are perfect. This worksheet's perfect if we come in 15% under budget on everything, and then 123,250. But in the real world, just like in your personal life, you might be on budget for some things, under budget for some things, and over budget for some things. Like we spent exactly $37,500 on lumber, but we spent $18,275 on concrete, or we spent $9,775 on drywall. Well, how would I get that total real quick if we have these different scenarios going on? Well, there's sort of a cool trick a lot of people don't know about in Excel is down here in the status bar, down here in the status bar you can get all kinds of mathematical information when you highlight certain numbers. For instance, let's say that our lumber was estimated at $37,500, and that's exactly what we spent, $37,500, so I'll click it. Now remember earlier I showed you how to do ranges. Remember highlighting ranges like this and clicking and dragging? You can also highlight non-contiguous ranges by holding down the control key. Like I can highlight this set of cells, hold my control key down, highlight those cells, highlight these cells, all these ranges that are not in a sequence here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we can use the control key to highlight certain numbers. Like let's say there's a voicemail on your telephone, and the foreman has the final numbers, or the contractor has the final numbers. The lumber came in right on schedule, $37,500. However, we got a deal on concrete and we got a 15% discount. So we only spent $18,275. I'm going to hold the control key down and click that $18,275. I got the control key held down and I click it. Now both these numbers are highlighted. And let's see, we're right on budget for drywall, so I'll click that one. My finger's still in the control key here. We went over budget on paint because a lot of it spilled, so we went 10% over budget on paint. I'll click that cell. We were 10% under budget on fixtures and carpet, and we were right on budget for labor, $65,000. So now I've got these 6 different numbers highlighted. Now look down here on the status bar and look at all that information down here. Count, average, and there's my sum, $141,525 is what we spent on the project. A lot of people don't know that stuff's even down there. If you don't see these numbers down here, you can right-click your status bar and you can access all that cool information. Most people don't even know it's there, like maximum and minimum, and voila. There's all my numbers down there. Whoops, my auto hide there. 65,000 was our highest. Our total is 141,525. Let's do another little scenario. Let's see. We were 10% over budget on lumber. Now I hold the control key down. 10% under budget on concrete. Right on budget for drywall. 20% under budget on paint. And we were 20% over budget on fixtures and carpet. And we were 15% under budget on labor. We lost a couple of employees during the process here. Okay, so we have 6 cells highlighted, and my total is what? Down here, sum. $137,350 is the project total. Okay, a lot of people don't know that stuff. That cool stuff is down there. Whenever you highlight a group of numbers, like that. All the information pops down there at the bottom there along the status bar. Okay, so that worksheet looks pretty good. Now, our next worksheet sort of requires a little prerequisite lesson here. This is our vacation tracking system. This is a different one that you built in the earlier lecture. On this one, we're going to calculate vacation time based on accumulating vacation each day. For example, this is 6 people here: Jones, Smith, Thomas, Taylor, Tyler, and Johnson. I have their hire dates. I have their vacation time each, but I want to find out how much vacation time they've accumulated since 1995 when Jones was hired. In this case, we can do some date calculations. Now, it's sort of important to know on a computer, there's really no such thing as dates. Dates are really serial numbers. Okay, dates are really serial numbers. For instance, if I type in a date down, I'll type in today's date. See, today is the 12th, 8/12/2011, and I'll hit enter, and my date shows up in the cell. But beneath that number, there's really, or beneath that date, I should say, there's really a date serial number. I'll go ahead and click on my comma button here, and today is, or August 13th or 12th, is really 40,767. Okay, actually, I think I got my date wrong here. 8/13/11. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, and I'll format to comma style. Yeah, so 40,768. Now, where on earth is it getting that 40,768 from? Now, this is not an Excel thing. This is a computer thing. All computers see dates as date serial numbers. And the first day, day number 1, is January 1st, 1900. Let's see here. I'll type in 1/1/1900. Okay, a long, long time ago, 111 years ago. Okay, and if I format it to comma, look what I get. I get a number 1. And voila. Now, I'll do, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago or something. I'll do 7/13/1965. And I'll format that to numbers, to comma style. That's day 23,936. So computers really see dates as numbers, not as dates. This is why we had that Y2K problem. Remember back in the year 2000, and everyone was going to die, and then nothing happened. This is a date issue. All computers back then used a 00 for their date code. For 1900 was 00. Well, the year 2000 was also 00, so a lot of computers would think that it was 1900 again because its date serial number 00. So everyone ran around trying to update their computers and get them to work properly. Just I think sort of some cool trivia here. Apple computers never had a problem with that. They always used a 4-digit date code. 1965 was 1965. Where on PCs, 1973 was just 73, 1984 was 84, 1900 was 00, and 2000 is 00. So we had that little bit of a problem with our dates. Okay, get out of that message there. Let me delete these cells here. And now that we know a little bit about dates, we can do some date calculations. Like, let's say I want to know how many days it's been, over the past 4 years. Let's see here. I'll do a little example here. I'll do 1/15/, well, actually I'll do today's date. 8/13/11. And put a little today right there. And the moon landing. Days and years. Okay. Widen my comma a little bit here. Okay, the moon landing was what? July 20th, 1969. Whoops. 1969. And those are date serial numbers. Now I can highlight both of them, make them comma, and I want to find the number of days. So I can just do some subtraction here. Let me undo my action here. My undo button is up here on the quick access toolbar, or do a Control Z. Let's see here. Now days would be equals this, E14, minus this, 15,364 days. Put a comma in there. Whoops. And I'll click over here. Now years would be the number of days divided by 365. So I can do equals this, and then this is something we haven't done yet. The // is used for division. Equals E16/365, and it's been 42.09 years. I can get rid of some of those decimals there. Here we go. 42.09 years ago was the moon landing back in 1969. So we can do all kinds of date calculations, and this was one of those problems from Y2K back in 2000 was doing some of those date calculations weren't working right because of the Y2K issue. A lot of computers would think that it was 1900 again. Let me highlight that and delete it. Okay, now we can sort of move on over here to our vacation time accumulated. Now here we sort of have to do a little prerequisite formula. Basically, we have to find out how much vacation time each person accumulates each day. We'll keep it simple, stupid. I always use the KISS method when it comes to this stuff. The KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Let's figure out how much vacation time is accumulated each day. Each employee is given 2 weeks a year. 2 weeks a year sort of converts to 10 days, right? 10 business days. Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday. So I'll come down here and I'll do equals 10 / for divide 365. Now where'd I get 365 from? Days in a year. Okay, I'll hit enter and I get this big old long ugly number, 0.0273976. Okay, I'll shrink it down a bit, maybe to just 3 decimal places. Okay, 0.027. That's how much vacation time that each person gets every day. Every day you work 8 hours, you get 0.027 hours time, maybe like, I don't know, 12 minutes or something. Over the course of the year, all those little times add up to 10 days. Okay? So, to calculate our vacation time accumulated, we take today's date and subtract the date they were hired. Okay? We take today's date, which is probably 40,000 and something, right? Okay, 768, I'll undo that. The date they were hired, I'll convert that to comma over here. 35,045, so roughly about 5,000 days. Okay, I'll hit undo there. Then take that 5,000 and multiply it by 0.027. So I'll do equals parentheses. I want my subtraction to happen first, so I got to put parentheses around it. Equals B3 minus B6, close parentheses, asterisk 0.027. And when I hit enter, that'll give me how many days that Jones has accumulated in the past 16 years, since 1995 there. I'll hit enter, and he's accumulated 154.521 days. I'll center align my number here, and maybe get rid of my decimals. There we go. Notice it rounds it up to 155, and I'll copy it across. And oops, okay, what did I forget to do? I kind of did this on purpose to see if you were looking. I have to absolute something, don't I? Remember from the other lessons? I'll double click my cell here. Okay, the B3 went over to C3, D3, E3, F3 as I copied it, so I need to absolute my B3, and what key do I hit? F4. Good deal. I'll hit enter. Now I'll recopy it, and I should have all the right answers. Voila. Very, very cool. Now my vacation time remaining is very simple. It's simply the vacation time accumulated minus the vacation time used. So I'll do equals B7 minus B8. Okay? And I get 14 days. No rocket science there. I'll double click on that. Equals B7 minus B8. Now what should be absolute when I copy it across? Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's a trick question. Okay? Nothing is absolute. I want both numbers to move all the way across, or both column letters to move across when I copy it. So I'll copy it along here with my fill handle, and boom, there's my vacation time remaining. And the cool thing about this worksheet is I actually have a function up here in B3. Let me double click B3 for you, and look what I got. Equals today, open close parentheses. Remember from functions from that first lecture? There's also a function called equals today, and we're going to talk about that one probably in the next lecture. But equals today, open close parentheses, that gives me the current date. Okay, you type it into your Excel worksheet right now, you're going to get the current date. It pulls the date from the computer. So if the date's wrong, that means your computer's wrong. Alright, so I'll hit enter here, and I got the date. And this is going to change. This is going to update every day. Like next week, it'll say August 20th. Okay, next year, it'll say 2012 over here. Yeah, it automatically updates. So whenever I open this file, this date's going to update, and since this formula refers to that date, this is going to update as well. Like, let's see here. I'll put a little plus sign. I'll do plus 180 right here. And so equals today plus 180 days at 6 months. Now it's February 9th, 2012, and all this is updated automatically. I call this a dynamic worksheet. Not the official name. That's just sort of my little nickname for it. Whenever a worksheet kind of runs itself and it updates itself, I call that a dynamic worksheet. Let me edit that and get rid of my plus 180 there, and it adjusts. Okay, looks pretty good. If I type in, let's see, F2 plus 365, now I got 164 days. So there we go. Now we're next year. All right, looks pretty cool, and that completes this worksheet on our vacation tracking system. And we'll go ahead and stop this lecture here. We've actually done a lot of things. Let's sort of review what we've done here. The first thing we did is we learned how to do some basic absolute reference formulas. We learned how to show the formulas, of course, control accent, and there's your different formulas. Okay, to control accent, and notice my B3 stays locked down. Very important to know for the quiz about absolute cell referencing. Why would you absolute a cell address in a formula? To keep it locked down when you copy it. Well, what's it called when it does move down? It is called relative formula. I'm going to put an extra handout on this very topic on Moodle for week 2, so make sure you look for that. There'll be a PDF file, and it's sort of just a little one-page synopsis in reference to absolute cell referencing, and something you definitely want to know for the hands-on exercises and for the quizzes. It's one of the real sticky spots of Excel that I've had with my regular classes, so feel free to ask lots of different questions. Let me get my answers back over here. And we did our second worksheet here, which was our markup percentage with some more absolute cell referencing. Our commission worksheet, again more absolute. And we also, on sheet 4 here, this is sort of a little bit harder worksheet. We did some absolute referencing and some order of operations. Make sure you know that for the quiz as well, because I'll have some order of operation examples. And yeah, you're going to see that again, probably on your hands-on thing as well. Okay, then our last worksheet was our vacation tracking system. Now remember, we're doing a lot of worksheets in a short time. This class is only, what, 5 weeks long. So you want to make sure that you ask lots of questions and really keep up on it. And if you want a video on a specific thing, just let me know, and I'll email it to you or post it on Moodle so everybody can see it. Because I have lots of examples, and I can make these videos all day long if you want me to. Alright, so we'll stop this lecture here, and I will see you for lecture 4.